I'm just doing another fix video. This is on this Tomy Thomas big loader kit, and what this has in it is just one little kind of motorized um, truck thing that uses the two trains. So I'll open it up and hopefully explain it a little bit better. Yeah, so it's just this one truck, which is you put batteries in, and that runs a little motor, and it goes under this train, and then it comes up here, and then goes under Thomas. So it's only one thing that is actually moving. But bought this one. You can see there the green battery corrosion, battery acid, and I tried kind of tidying up the thing, and the tabs on the motor broke. So I've ordered a new motor. So this should be just a case of opening it up, giving it making sure everything is thoroughly clean, and just soldering a couple of bits on, a couple of bits of wire onto this motor. So I'm going to try and show you how to do that with a little bit of luck. We will see how it goes. Okay, just quickly, what I've got ready for this job, I've got some alcohol and some cotton buds, and that'll be for the cleaning, which will be the first job really. There's loads of, up here it's not too important that there's green corrosion, but I will clean it all. That's not in focus. But the wires need to be cleaned. I think I may well end up putting new wires on it. We'll see whether that holds, or whether I've got enough wire to solder them on. And all of that needs cleaning. It just needs to, look really... Cleaning is one of the most important things if you're soldering. Now, obviously, I'm soldering onto a new motor, so I've just got to make sure this is cleaned. So first off, I'm going to try and trim these wires and clean them up, and then re-tin them, which means just heating them up with the soldering iron and putting some new solder on there, and I'll put some solder on the motor bits, and then solder them together, which I don't know whether I'll film because I'll probably need two hands. So I've got that, and I have got a flux pen. I don't know if I'll need it. I might just put a little bit of flux on. It helps to obviously clean, and helps the solder flow. I'm not an expert solderer, so don't think I'm an expert. I've got my soldering iron. I normally use temperature of around about 350. 320 to 350 is fine. And one of the best things I've bought is tip tinner. You can get it on Amazon, because if your tip is knackered, you are never gonna, if that is been oxidized or whatever it is that it does, you're never going to get the heat through it. So making sure it's cleaned off, tip tinner in, and is nice and new, ready to apply the solder, is probably one of the most important things you can use. Is you've got to have a good tip. And you've got to have the right temperature. So like I say, as soon as I fathomed out that you need this, and this should be around about sort of 350 mark, my soldering has been a lot easier. And you've got to get it clean. Clean. So anyway, I'm going to clean it up, and we'll see how we go with those bits of wire. I'm a little bit thinking I might need to change them, but we'll see how we go. Right, I've given it a bit of a clean up, and this focus is terrible. There we go. The motor sits in like that, so the wires, I think, come round here and round here. I do want to get this old solder off, so I'm just going to heat this up, and I brought down a bit of braid. It might just come off onto the soldering iron, but I brought down some braid, and I've also bought a solder sucker. It's not the sort of thing, I don't think it's quite the right thing to get rid of that off, but I want to apply new, and when it's cleaned off, I will probably feed it through these holes on the motor, feed the wire through, and then put some flux on that, and then drop the solder onto that to get the connection. I'm kind of thinking these wires might break off while I'm doing it, so I've got some new wires down ready for that, and some wire strippers. This camera is not focusing today. I don't know why that is. So my next job is just going to be trying to get the old solder off that wire, and we'll see how we go. So I'm going to turn this on to 350. There we go. Set at 355, and we'll see if I can clean it up a bit. Okay, the red wire has come off. I thought it might do. And I kind of wanted to do it again anyway to give it a better connection. I've moved this up because I'm pretty sure if I put a soldering iron into that when it's on the plastic will melt. So there's a little hole there. I'm just going to melt this solder and see if I can clean that up. As I'm going to solder on it, it's going to need a real good clean. The blue one looks pretty well on, so I don't really want to move that, but we'll see how we go. Right, there's a new bit of wire, so I've put that through the hole. When I cleaned the old solder off, I did actually use a solder sucker because it was like a blob. This thing. These are worth having. They're only a couple of quid, I think, or 2-3 quid. So giving it a good old clean, solder sucker, and then give it a bit of a scrape, give it a bit of a clean with isopropyl alcohol. I've got a longer bit of wire than I need, probably. Fed it through the hole and back around, and I'm now going to put a little bit of flux on it from the flux pen, heat up the iron to 350. I'll heat the pad and maybe just touch the wire to give that a little bit of heat, and then apply the solder. And as long as it's sort of clean and the iron is hot enough, the solder should melt within like a second or two. You don't want to be holding your iron on this for too long because it will melt the plastic. So if it doesn't do it in the first couple of seconds, take it away and give it more of a clean. But yes, we will see how we go. So it's done. Maybe not the best job in the world. Does look a little bit blobby. Maybe I put too much on there. Maybe it wasn't clean enough, didn't quite take, but I've given it a tug and it seems okay. So now I just need to put the motor in and again apply some flux to these terminals, put the wires in, bend it round, and put a bit more soldering. I did put a bit more a tip tinner on my tip because I held it on for a couple of seconds and it didn't melt, but it did after I did the tip tinner. So it is important to get your tip in the best condition. Right, there we go. That's him done. You do need to, if you've used flux, so I've used it on the other end of this red wire and these two, you do need to clean off sort of any excess flux. If you leave it on, it will sort of tarnish the metal and it's not good for the joint. So I've got to do that, and I need to give the underside of this a little bit more of a clean up. But I'm just going to stick a battery in and see if the motor runs. I ordered these up on eBay. I don't know if I said. I think I got a couple of quid each or something. But let's see if the motor is running. It is. Amazing. Right, so I'm going to now put it all back together and see if it still works. Right, as was usual with these things, that's taken another couple of hours to actually properly fix. The motor was working fine and all of that was okay, but there were a few things which were sort of getting in the way of the wheels moving. So firstly, this cog was loose. Let me take this out. So taking that out. So it is important that cog doesn't slip. This cog obviously doesn't slip. So it's just took it off, drop a super glue on there and put it back on. The other thing that might have caused a problem was this little thing at the end here, which just slips off. I don't know what you call that. I'm sure there's a name for it. But because of all the battery corrosion, it was absolutely like wedged on. So I kind of pulled it off, cleaned it up, and initially used WD-40, but then I've just put some like silicone grease around the whole lot really, so that's nice and loose. And the third thing, and probably the most important thing, was this is the on button here. and that needed another clean. I think if it's dirty, you're just not getting enough kind of like oomph through it, and it's quite difficult to try and that little bit of metal that sticks out there. It's kind of that's got to be clean as well. So I use some contact cleaner on that and gave it a bit of a scrape in general, and then I sort of like turned it on and off a few times with some pressure downwards on that little bit of metal. But I'm going to put it together now. I'm actually going to set up the track and pray that Thomas will run around. There we go, all working. One of the most important things to have is fresh batteries. I was trying to test this without with kind of half-used batteries. You do need good batteries for this sort of thing. All looking good. There goes Terence. And what I'll do is, there we go, it was stuck there for a minute. I could watch it for hours. I'll just show you one more thing that needed looking at before I end the video. There we go. Fantastic. Right, one more thing. Just one more thing. Get hold of him. Come here. Oh God. Can't stop the thing now. Yeah, these were loose, or they were loose on one wheel, and which isn't any good because they're there to make it grip and make it go. So if they slip as well, I actually glued it. You can see where I've glued it in. Not very well. It's very difficult to glue in actually because you kind of have to pull it out. It's like a washer, and then kind of put it back in. So there may be better ways of doing that. Maybe, I don't know really. It's a tricky one. Maybe sort of like wind some thread in so it's thicker or something like that. But yeah, that was what was happening. This was just going round and slipping and wasn't going anywhere. And yeah, the on-off switch needed a bit more cleaning. I will give it a bit more of a clean, but it is up and running now. So it's a nice little fix, but it has taken about 2 or 3 hours of my time. And I'm supposed to be doing a listing challenge, so I think it's about 5 o'clock now. And the last lot of listing I did was my list 5 live at about 12 o'clock this morning. Bless you. So rest of the day, I'm going to try and get up to 20 listings. So fingers crossed I can do that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Another fix. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you soon. Take care.